We have to come in today and see the doctor and get some stuff fixed. That's what Kirby Smart said Monday morning when he was getting ready to go in to talk to the ESPN Game Day crew as they were preparing for their annual broadcast of the Rose Bowl. And there are some things to fix for Georgia, and there are some things that if they don't fix, could very well cost them a national championship. Um, that's just all there is to it. But it's just been a busy week, as you can see. Look, I think to some degree Ohio State did some stuff that Georgia was not expecting. They had, 4 weeks to get ready for this game with Georgia, and Georgia. I don't want to speak for the Dogs. I don't know. My suspicion is they were not expecting C.J. Stroud to go absolutely ham running the football. And that's not what he does. Um, and he again was spectacular. I mean, he was spectacular. That's just all there is to it. I mean, the guy was amazing, and that happens when you play really, really good players. For Georgia, the fact of the matter is that they won the game, and um, there are always issues to clean up. I mean, one of the things that Kirby's talked about a lot, and he's correct, is you know when he says I'm quoting Kirby saying here, we don't feel like we have to lose to learn. He's right. I mean, there are some things you should really strive in life to learn every single day if you can. One that's an easy segue into what I'm about to say. You're going to learn more when you sign up for our newsletter. We send it out every day. Okay, sometimes not on the weekends when it's not football season, but we send it out every day. It's easy. It doesn't cost anything. The link is right down below. Get yourself set up for the newsletter right to your phone every single morning, and that way you're not going to miss on the. I think we had 10 or 12 stories on Monday. You're not going to miss out on those. So you've won by watching this video. Now spike the football and sign up for the newsletter down below. Hey, there are some things to clean up for sure. Uh, but the matchup's different now. I mean, TCU has got explosive players. They don't have the explosive players that Ohio State did for the bulk of that game. Harrison left that game, I think in the third, it was a late third quarter, fourth quarter, whatever it was. He had gotten his catches. Ohio State scored the bulk of their points, of course, in the first half, if I'm not mistaken. So they were already at. I am working through this cold. If there's anyone that needs to see a doctor, it's me. But it's actually gone pretty well until I start talking to y'all. And then suddenly things are not the way that I would like it to be, but I am getting it. I am hoping to get it better. One problem that you have if you know, write or talk for a living is eventually when you get run down like we do, you can't function as well. But for Georgia, when you look at this, I'm pulling the statistics up for this game, and you know Georgia was so Ohio State had 28 points in the first half, and there was an amazing drive at the end of the game, at the end of the first half. So, they only scored three times after that. Okay, a touchdown and two field goals. So, Emeka Egbuka had that really nice touchdown um, in the third quarter for Ohio State. That was the last touchdown they scored. So they got to 35, and then they started kicking field goals with Ruggles, a 25-yarder and then a 48-yarder. That was not a pretty ball, but it went through. So I just, you know, this is going to be a different game for Georgia going up against Texas Christian. I mean, TCU, the quarterback is more predicated on the run. There's also different circumstances here. Um, Again, a shortened amount of time. What the quarterback does, Georgia's probably better equipped to deal with that than what they have in the past. But I mean, no, if you're thinking you can go into the TCU game uh, thinking you got the same game plan as you going up against Ohio State, I mean, obviously they're different teams, right? They just are. So going to see the doctor was literal, probably for Darnell. Maybe Chaz Chandler. Look, I saw he got hurt. I talked to Chaz briefly after the game. He seemed okay to me. I mean, obviously, I'm not Ron Corson or a physician. I did not inspect his injury or anything like that, but he appeared okay. I mean, Darnell was right by me, probably within 8 feet of me when that game ended. I have images of him. I mean, he I would not be surprised if Darnell played, but I just don't know that he's totally healthy. I mean, Georgia is definitely banged up. I mean, if you look at where they're at with things, but I don't know, y'all. I mean, I think Georgia's in good position here. You're talking about a one game scenario where they will likely have the fans, maybe not 65, 70% like they did in Atlanta, but they will have more fans than TCU there. That's my guess. Now, we're going to see. TCU, Texas Christian, has an amazingly affluent fan base. There's just not a lot of them. So it's not Vanderbilt. It is, I mean, there's not a lot of it's hard to compare them to someone in the deep South because there's not really a school like that in the deep South in terms of. Uh, I mean, this is like I don't know Georgetown or Xavier, maybe a Big East school, former or no, well, current Big East schools like that who are religious schools, private schools. They're not the flagship of their state, and so but they've got a lot. I mean, it's a wealthy fan base, so it's not dissimilar from Georgia in that aspect. There's just not as many of them. I think the question too becomes is every single TCU person ever going to go to this game? And the answer to that is probably yeah. So it might be, much closer to 50-50 than the Atlanta game or Indianapolis or the Atlanta game before that with Bama. But Georgia's going to have probably the majority of fans, or at least the plurality of fans. But that will help them. They're used to traveling. There were a lot of people that didn't go to the game in Atlanta that got tickets for Los Angeles because of money, just wanting to go to LA. So I think the crowd will probably be on Georgia's side. We'll have to see how that goes. I'm not so certain on this one. But getting healthy, getting right, understanding, it's Tuesday, y'all. Now they play on Monday, so I don't know if this is going to be a traditional Bloody Tuesday at Georgia. That might come tomorrow. Monday, I think, was treated like a double Sunday for Georgia. Georgia didn't get back until about 4 o'clock in the morning. Okay, from Atlanta. So TCU played in Phoenix. They probably got back maybe at 1 o'clock. So in theory, they could have had a legitimate practice on Sunday. And of course, you do have time constraints that exist right now. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong about that. I'm thinking of my era of college sports, and you were restricted to 20 hours. But it occurs to me right now that there's no class, so there's that too. But all of those things will have been worked out a long time ago. I guess just generally speaking, for Kirby and them, you're trying to figure out um, what is the right what you've got your barometers and you've got your data. Figuring out how to get from point A to point B in terms of these practices is important right now. I think there's probably got to be a lot of exhaustion. I mean, I haven't chatted with a lot of Georgia folks, but one very briefly last night, a prominent one, and that person's view of the world was that it was a pretty exhausting game, um, and that I just wonder where they're kind of at with rest because the not getting back to Atlanta from Atlanta until about 3 or 4 or whatever it was. I mean, we got done with Kirby around 1, and they don't just magically go to Athens. I mean, it takes time to get there. So even with the escort, you're still looking at maybe at best 2:30. But we got a text back at about 4 o'clock in the morning. So that may have been when that person got to where they sleep. I don't know. But it was a late night for Georgia. And I think Sunday was total off unless it was, you know, like you're hurt and you need treatment. Like it was get out of here because you can run these guys down, man. I mean, there's only so much data that folks can keep. So seeing the doctor, yeah, but they needed rest too. Hey, thanks for watching.